The next is the need to anticipate and take countermeasures. We call it inoculation in politics. Machiavelli said political disorders can be quickly healed if they are seen well in advance, and only a prudent ruler has such foresight. When, for a lack of diagnosis, they are allowed to grow in such a way that everyone can recognise them, then remedies are too late. And again, you've got to look forward. Don't relax. You've got to look forward and see what things could trip you up. This morning I saw a press release from Wayne Swan, and he said he accused Tony Abbott of, if he won office, that he would increase the GST to pay for something or other. I didn't read the rest of it, but I thought, oh well, that's clever. He's trying to inoculate. He anticipates that next week, if there's a focus on tax, because they've been trying to introduce various taxes, that they will be disadvantaged by it. So he's out trying to create a debate on tax, on GST. It won't go far, but if we spend a day saying we're not going to increase the GST under any circumstance, well, he's helped to inoculate. He's anticipated that's going to happen. Whether it will or not, he's taken some action. And you can again find in your own circumstance, people will run arguments against what you want to do, right? And they might be quite effective. You need to be ready to, and in fact inoculate sometimes against the attacks that you know will come against the change that you're trying to incorporate. In that way, when you get to it, you can say, well, as I said 6 months ago, right, we can anticipate that the next department would say that we've got our sums wrong. And now they have, well, that's what we thought they'd say. But, you know, that's why we worked so hard for 6 months to make sure we haven't got our sums wrong. Okay, so you have influenced people who would be otherwise affected by the proposition that's put. The next one is the importance of the quality of the leader. If you're appointing leaders in your section or your department or whatever it might be, Machiavelli said, here is an infallible rule. A prince who is not himself wise cannot be advised, cannot be well advised. And that is so true, right? You've got to look for people who've got the qualities that are necessary at that level and in that organisation and in that position. And that really says to me, you've got to spend a lot of time. And to me, I've always found with interviews and things, I made mistakes endlessly, unless I went and talked to people who had actually worked with and been influenced by or whatever, you never really... Some people can present well in an interview and conduct themselves well for 6 months and then be a disaster from then on. It's very important, even though sometimes you're so busy and you want to fill a position quickly, to me it's so critical that you satisfy yourself that you've got the best possible person you can lay your hands on and they're suitable for that position. Because if they're not the right person, they'll never be well advised, and it'll be a constant source of frustration to you as long as they're there. The next one was the importance of, I suppose, to me, celebrating success in a way, and not overly penalising too those that don't bring everyone back to the field too readily. By all means, make sure everyone gets a fair crack of the whip, but there is a tendency, especially I think in our community, to take the egalitarian thing too far, and you are often, if those that are really driving success in your organisation, there's got to be in some form or other acknowledgement, whether it's just to celebrate what they're doing. But Machiavelli said, one man should not be afraid of improving his possessions lest they be taken away from him, or another deterred by high taxes from starting a new business. Rather, the prince should be ready to reward them who want to do these things and those who endeavour in any way to increase the prosperity of their city or state. As well as this, at suitable times of the year, he should entertain the people with shows and festivities. And since every city is divided into guilds or family groups, he should pay attention to these, meet them from time to time, and give an example of courtesy and munificence, while all the time, nonetheless, fully maintaining the dignity of his position, because this should never be found wanting in anything. You know, there's some very wonderful lessons there, observations, which ring true just as you've got to spend some time with your people. You've got to acknowledge them. Some people who are the boss try and enhance their own reputation by taking credit for everything that happens, and it just builds resentment, and it does mean they're a lesser person. And you've got to entertain the people with the drinks at Friday night occasionally, or every week, whatever's suitable to you. I mean, things that show that you appreciate what they're doing, I think was captured in this. And also, not putting your foot on people who are really making it happen. He talked about people who are trying to increase the prosperity of a state or city. Same principle within an organisation. Some are really, some people are really the energy in your place, and you've got to find ways to celebrate that and encourage it. The next is the importance of the quality of your team. The first opinion that is formed of a ruler's intelligence, it really relates back to an earlier one, is based on the quality of the men. He always talks about men that he has around them. When they are competent and loyal, he can be always considered wise, because he's been able to recognise their competence and to keep them loyal. Again, getting the right person at the top, they will get the right people underneath them as well. Establish authority and respect. Machiavelli said, a prince must be slow to take action and must watch that he does not come to be afraid of his own shadow. His behaviour must be tempered by humanity and prudence, so that overconfidence does not make him rash, or excessive distrust make him unbearable. From this arises the following question: whether it be better to be loved than feared, or the reverse? Machiavelli says the answer is that one would like to be both, the one and the other. But because it is difficult to combine them, it is far better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. So that is a question of establishing authority and respect in a way. And if you've got to read in the context of the circumstance 500 years ago. But what he does go on to say at other stages, and I'll stop in a second because I think you've probably had enough. But he does say that the last thing you want to be is to be hated, because if you're hated, you will not hold people under times of duress, but you've got to be respected. Okay, and that's often when he says feared. I think in the sort of modern day parlance, it really is to make sure that that you are respected and you've got authority, and you carry yourself in a way, and you conduct yourself in a way, and you make decisions in a way which implies and really enforces and encourages the respect and the authority. Finally, just two or three more. Neutralise weaknesses and maximise strengths. One of the critical things. The best fortress, Machiavelli said, that exists is to avoid, here we are, being hated by the people. If you have fortresses and yet the people hate you, they will not save you. Once the people have taken up arms, they will never lack outside help. I've found that in strategic terms, a lot of what you've got an organisation, you haven't got the perfect staff, you haven't got the perfect level of resources. There are issues you've got to deal with and still conduct your business. You've got to neutralise your weaknesses. And you've got to maximise your strengths. You've got to work out what you're best at, not just you personally, but your organisation or your branch or whatever it might be, and the people in it, and then see that you can capitalise on those strengths. I've found that I think it's because we're so vain, really, so many of us, that a lot of people, you find that you respond to criticism. A lot of people get concerned about, and it's human nature, they react to criticism, and it really churns up inside, and they'll think about it for weeks, and if someone passes a critical comment. And often people I've found spend half their life trying to prove that a weakness they've got is not a weakness. When if they spent the same amount or less time on the strengths that they've got, everyone around them would be much happier because they celebrate what you bring to the organisation, that strength, and you'll be much happier because you will feel the vibe around you with people knowing that you're doing something that they couldn't do and you're making a contribution which is helping the whole team effort. So it sounds simple, but I must say to you, in 30 years of running different organisations, so many people, and they would come to me for references afterwards for jobs which really reflected their weaknesses, not their strengths. And the lack of self-awareness, and I think a lot of it was just this innate sense that I'm going to prove, that I'm going to disprove that criticism that someone said to me. And forget it. Get on and do what you're best at. It'll be amazing how many people will celebrate it. Finally, don't dwell on the mistakes. Get on with it and you'll be judged accordingly. Men are won over by the present far more than by the past, said Machiavelli. And when they decide that what is being done here and now is good, they content themselves with that and do not go looking for anything else. So learn from your losses and your weaknesses, but don't dwell on it. Just move on, because people, and I think Machiavelli's as right today as he was 500 years ago, people are won over by the present far more than by the past. And when you think about some of the disasters of some individuals around the world through their careers who've gone on to walk through it, Clinton's extramarital activities during his presidency and the focus on that, and yet he remains a major leader in the world. Lots of people suffer all sorts of disadvantages and losses, some through their own fault and some not through, but just walk through that, learn from it, and get on with life. And finally, the common failing of mankind is never to anticipate a storm when the sea is calm. And how true that is, if you're cruising and you put your feet up, something will come and clobber you from behind. You've got to run scared, in my view, the whole time. You've got to assume everything's going to go wrong, and then you'll sleep easy then because it hasn't gone wrong that day. All the best. Thank you.